All right, so gonna do a quick espresso pull demo using my Rancilio setup that I bought back in 2017. It's a pretty basic grinder and espresso machine setup, but it's tried, tested, and true. Got good quality parts, and it doesn't have any bells and whistles, but it's just what I need, and it's affordable, not spending like 2-3 grand on an espresso setup. Everything is done manually, so you're gonna see what it looks like to pull it more or less from scratch. The Rancilio Rocky you see on the left, the Rancilio Silvia is right there. It's a single boiler machine, which means if I wanted to do a latte or cappuccino, I'd have to do the espresso shot and the milk separately, compared to most commercial devices that use that do them simultaneously. But I typically like espresso drinks anyway, so I'm only going to do the espresso shot so we can get that in one video. Today I'm going to be using little Victories espresso blend. It's kind of a dark roast, but I didn't really like them at first, but they're actually pretty decent for espresso shots if you get it at the right time. They tend to be pretty good within the first 3 or 4 days, like perfect, but it's very sensitive, so if you wait longer than that, it gets a little bit sour and not to my taste. That's why most people use really dark roasts and really oily roasts for espresso, because it's a little more stable and more consistent long term. But these guys are pretty good, and I bought this about a week ago, so we're kind of getting close to the end. We'll see how it goes. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna grind the coffee from scratch. Then we're gonna load the coffee into the portafilter, 20 grams in. We're going to even it out, tamp it, and pull an espresso shot and see how it looks like. Now I know usually about, I think I need about a quarter cup to get 20 grams in, so we're going to do that now. If I can get this all done before the song finishes. Gotta get close. Alright, first thing, coffee, portafilter. Okay. Scale is zeroed out. Alright, got 20 grams in there. What I'm going to do now is just smear it out, take out any clumps. And then I got this little doohickey, which is pretty nifty. I don't know exactly what it's called, but it helps me because instead of spreading it out by hand, you can pop it in, give it a couple of spins. Now you have a nice smooth surface to do a tamp. So I'm going to put this down, see what a temp looks like. Key thing is you don't want to over tamp it, otherwise it gets too tight. You don't want to under tamp it, otherwise there's not enough pressure. You don't want it to be uneven, so you have to put it in first, nice and clean. Evenly around the circumference. Instead of cranking it down, just put even pressure. Before it gives too much, give it a spin. And this is ready to go. I'm going to warm up the coffee shot glass. Now this light means that the temperature is too low, so it's perfect. I can warm up the glass a little bit, wait for it to fully warm up. Do a next shot, crank it, dry out the glass. Now this is a triple shot. Actually, maybe I'll just show this real quick. So what I have is called a bottomless portafilter. What most people tend to have is a typical double spouted portafilter, so the coffee comes out of these spouts. I have something called a bottomless portafilter, which lets you see the shot being pulled through the filter, so you can see if you're uneven one side or the other, and it looks just gorgeous. So the light is still on, which means that we need to wait a few minutes for it to be pulled. I have this shot glass here. Typically for a double shot, you want 20 grams, you want a 2-to-1 brew ratio, which means if I put 20 grams in, we're gonna want 20 grams out. Just zeroed out the scale now, and if you look underneath, you can see the filter. It's completely bottomless. There's no spout, so it gets a little bit messy, but you can get a much better pull, and you can have a better understanding of what it looks like. All right, let's pull a shot. Let's see what it looks like. Typically for a good espresso shot, you want, ooh, that looks quite nice. Look at that. Oh, that's gorgeous. Wow. Typically, you want your shot to be pulled between 20 to 30 seconds. I don't know exactly how long this is running for, but we're going into 30 grams. Then a little more. Oh, no way, look at that. 20 grams in, 20 grams out. Now we have our, oh, look at that, that's gorgeous. We have a nice thick layer of crema at the top. Crema is the cream. What tends to happen is all the bubbles from carbon dioxide will float to the top. Now, because this coffee is a little bit older, there's not as much crema you can see, but there's a nice thick separation. And if this was fresh coffee from like a week, like within a few days of roasting, you'll still see bubbling and stuff like that. So unfortunately, it's not perfect. Whatever, who cares? Give it a little spin. You'll still see, it's still pretty active though. Quite a bit of crema. Now crema is not actually a good, it's pretty, but it's not the perfect indication of whether it's good coffee or not. Cheap coffee can still produce a lot of crema, but good coffee can be very bland, but I mean very flat without any cream, but you'll have good flavor. And most people, when you go to Starbucks or any of these other places, they typically pull it in a certain way. And I like my coffee a little bit on the dark side. I like it pulled short, because when you pull a shot, you'll have different flavors coming from different parts of the from the pull, kind of like when you're making wine or alcohol or distilling stuff. So that's why the timing is critical. If you pull it too long, you're gonna get a lot of really like bright, acidic, kind of really shitty stuff. If you pull it too short, you'll get a lot of bitters. And for me, I like my coffee a little bit on the bitter side, kind of like dark chocolate. So I kind of like it short. I don't like the coffee that tastes acidic and bright and I don't know how to call it, what else to call it, sour. So I know for me what the recipe looks like, and I have those recipes written down here. We'll see how this goes though. Oh man. So this is a little bit on the acidic side, but it's a lot more balanced than the other type of stuff that you might pull. There's some really shitty coffee out there, like fucking, what was the worst one I had? Oh, Happy Goat. I hate Happy Goat. I hate Marley. Marley coffee, I could not pull that good at all. It was absolutely terrible. This one, again, it's a little, if you make it super dark, it's gonna be, if you make it super dark, it doesn't matter what roast you get. It's just gonna be dark. It's kind of like cooking a steak well done. But I like this. This is pretty balanced. All right, I gotta give, if I'm gonna be a reviewer or whatever, I'll give Little Victories a 4.5 out of 5.